and entrepreneur straight out of New York City, Michael Chernow. What's cracking?
Once I started training with a purpose and understanding it's not about being sore, it's about getting to the goal, taking small steps to get closer to the goal rather than one huge push, that I was able to create habits that are sustainable. So training less, gaining more, which that can mean a plethora of things. Gaining more strength, endurance, gaining more towards your goals if it's weight loss, fat loss. That is a principle of the JMethod. So is train less, gain more.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Creatures of Habit podcast. Today, I have an awesome guest on the show, someone who you are going to want to learn from for sure. Her name is Jennifer Jacobs. She has a number of things to talk about that she's done in her life. But her number one focus right now is Job 1. She's a creator of this program. It is a 20-minute a day workout, 5 days a week that will kick your butt and keep you accountable. She's built this program from the ground up. She is killing it with this program. She's also the founder and CEO of her own business, JMethod. She is a super trainer. She is a badass, and I cannot wait to talk to her about what she does on a daily basis to stay as fierce as she is. So welcome to the show, Jen.
I feel very fierce right now. Thank you for having me. I'm such a fan of your podcast to begin with.
Thank you. So as you know, on the Creatures of Habit podcast, we talk about habits. I like to really uncover the habits, rituals, and routines of people that inspire me. And you definitely inspire me. After we started to connect, I started to dig into your content, and you're such you are like an insane force of energy. Just the way it comes through on your social media, and now seeing you in person and meeting you in person, it totally correlates and it's real, right? Like you have an energy that is in and I think that's probably why you're so successful in the industry that you're in, because people look at you, not only are you attractive and you obviously are in shape, but you have this energy that's like infectious, and it draws people in, and they want to listen to you and they want to learn from you. And so that's why you're sitting here on the Creatures of Habit podcast.
Good to be here.
So tell us about, you know what, before we get into this stuff, I'm so eager to hear what your morning routine is. Because I know you've got one, and I know it's a good one.
I'm pretty well known for it. I mean, people have replicated it in reels where they like mimic exactly what I'm doing, because I am always with this bouncing around, eye patches on type of way to start the day. And I really believe it changes your whole mood the way you start your day. So the way I start my day is I do travel a lot, so I'm never in the same place more than too long, which one day I hope to be. But I will automatically open the windows to see some form of light, no matter how the light's coming through.
First thing you do?
First thing I do. I open the shades. So my place in Miami, I'm opening the blackout shades, getting in that light. Then I go to the bathroom. I don't wash my face. I splash my face with cold water, not once, but 3 times.
Oh my God, I just have to stop you there. I have to stop you there. That's so fucked up, because I do the exact same thing, not once, but 3 times. And I wash my face after I train, but I don't wash my face for 3 splashes in the morning. What do you think that is?
It's just the power of 3. I actually worked for a former CEO, and he did 3 splashes and then 3 sips of water from the faucet. But depending where I'm at in the world, that's not the smartest thing to do. So
I've never heard anybody say 3 splashes.
3 splashes on the face, and then automatically I place these eye patches underneath my eyes. Now, do they work? They just make me feel fierce because, we all look a little different in the morning. So put these eye patches on. They're like my armor. I go into a kitchen or even in a little space in the hotel, wherever I'm staying, and I make what I've coined the hydration cocktail, which is simple. 8 ounces of warm water, 1/4 of a lemon juiced, and pinch of pink Himalayan sea salt. I mean, I even travel with my own salt. And while I'm drinking that or trying to get it down, it helps me consume that amount of water. Whether it's 8 ounces or 16, it doesn't need to be precise. It's just whatever access I have to the cup. I get that down, and while I'm doing that, I'm making matcha. So I started drinking matcha in 2017, completely changed my energy and my endurance overall throughout the day. So while I'm drinking that, I've also have it so that my alarm is a song. And it's a song that makes me want to move. So I have dubbed it the wake up bounce. And so to see thousands of people at events doing the wake up bounce, like I had 15,000 people at an event last year, had my daughter on stage with me, all doing the wake up bounce, which is really, it's like a chaotic dance move. It's lightly bouncing through the balls of your feet like you would if you were shadow boxing or jump roping, and your arms are above your head and you're just moving to the music.
And so when do you do that?
Like in between the hydration cocktail and the matcha. Like just
that.
let's wake up, let's change the mood, let's get the lymphatic system moving in the right way. Now with the matcha, depending on how quickly I drank that or not, I'll find some sort of lit area and I'll go through 3 mobility moves. Very simple. Segmented cat-cow. I'll go into some elephant marches, which is just going into downward dog, walking it back and forth all the way to my hands. And then I'll go into all fours for a couple of hip mobility drills. That takes me a total of, I'd say, 2 to 3 minutes, those moves. Now, if I miss any part of that routine, I'm totally off for the rest of the day. Like if I don't have my eye patches, I'm like, oh, no, this is not going to be a great day. Or if I don't move my body, those 3 movements or something similar to, it doesn't feel right. And I will retract that, which is a little bit of French right there, but I will pick that up. If I missed it, I'll do it at noon, for instance, and then I'll feel just a whole lot better after those 3 simple moves.
You know, so I love the fact that you have a morning routine that is structured, that is basically habit stacking. Mm-hmm. I have a very extensive morning routine as well.
We have heard, which is great for you.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? I think, and you know, the morning routine is, everybody can have their own morning routine, right? The beauty of the podcast that we have here is that like we get to just share other people's routines. And some people, like we said before we started rolling, are like, yeah, I don't even have one. I wake up whenever the hell I want, and that's just the way and awesome for you. That's your morning routine, right? Like when you say morning routine, it doesn't have to be like the 17 things that I do or the 10 things that you do. It's like, no. What makes you feel good? Here's the deal though. June 3rd,
okay,
I was on my C2 Concept 2 bike. I had taken a little time off I was at CrossFit. I tweaked out my trap. I said, I'm going to take a few days off. I'm on the Concept 2 bike. That night, I started to feel like some sciatica. And I was like, oh, shit. I woke up the next morning. Boom. Sciatica from my glutes to my ankle. Still here. Cortisone shots, like the whole thing. It's bad news. That said, because of the sciatica and because of how important movement is to my mental health, like I said, you know what? I am going to give my body the rest that it wants. I am not going to get up at 5. I am going to sleep till whenever. I'm going to sleep till 6 or 6:30, which for me is late. It just is. I'm sorry. It's like that is late. And I'm not saying that and I'm not like touting myself. I'm saying that that's just late for me, but it's giving my body the rest and recovery. However, I will say that I didn't do even half of the things that I do in the morning. I still right now don't feel as awesome as I do when I do those things. So like people, like you see on social today, and even in podcasts, we're like, oh, the morning routine. God, the morning. Oh yeah, let me guess. This person's got like 14 things that they do, and they're breaking balls about it. And it's just kind of like, hey, you know what? You don't have to do it. You don't. Mm-hmm. But you just said no one has ever come on this podcast and said that their eye patches, if they don't put on their eye patches, they're just not the same human. Like that's a new one.
I'm thrown off.
That's new, and by the way, like. I have this stuff that I put under my eyes that it just makes me fucking feel good.
That is all good for the individual, right? Whatever puts you in the best mind frame and feel good vibe to set your day up for success. There are a lot of people who will see my morning routine online. It'll be in a quick reel. It'll be eye patches, me bouncing, making the hydration cocktail into the matcha, which is a whole ceremony on its own, which actually makes me feel like I accomplished something more than making my bed. Is making a matcha to get that perfect foam head on it. And I've perfected it, right? I call myself the queen of matcha. Some people say, oh, I love your routine, but I don't drink matcha. I said, and that's okay. Do coffee. Do what works best for you. I'm just showing you how I start my day, hopefully giving you a little something to smile at, because I'm usually playing a kick-ass song. Like Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, that's a go-to for me. But it's just to inspire others, not to say this is the best way to do things. This is how you should start your day. But also I'm sharing something that doesn't take a lot of time, because I don't want anyone to think that that's the barrier to create a routine, especially a morning routine.
So before this stuff, do you think, has structure always been a part of your DNA?
I believe so, ever since I came to New York. So before New York, I lived in the south of France, lived a beautiful life, was a stay-at-home mother who on the side had an online training business before online training was a thing. So back in 2006, I used the platform Skype to train clients that first started when I went to college. So I want to date myself, but earlier than that. And from there, they had the idea, why don't you train us from France? Because now you live in France. And from that, word of mouth, developed a clientele. And one of those clients said, you know what you're doing? It's really cool. But there's this other company doing something that they reach hundreds of people at one time. And I thought, wow, well, wouldn't that be something to reach a greater audience in the same hour? So that's what brought me to New York City.
And that company was Peloton?
That company was Peloton. And of course, I had to have a routine. I had set schedule of classes, especially Friday was 6 and 8 a.m. classes. So I had to have a routine that kept me sustainable throughout those time frames. And there were a lot more commitments to that meets the eye. And you had to have a solid routine. And at first I didn't. But it was around 2017 that I discovered matcha. I discovered matcha in all places, Montreal, Canada. I was there hosting a fitness event, and I was introduced to it. And then from there, I decided to become a connoisseur, had to have the best of the best. And a friend of mine was like, I'm going to Japan. I'm interested in creating a matcha company. And I said, I would love to be the guinea pig. Like, I will sample your matcha, because what I can't find is one matcha that tastes good and it's just the highest grade, but it's not too high that it's unaffordable, right?
Because there is that too, right?
Oh,
like there's
trust me, I was spending
expensive.
$120 for a can of like 30 servings. I was at that level. And I said, this can't be the way. So she sourced it, found it, called it KO Matcha, and I've been drinking it ever since. So that was probably in 2018. But that simple thing, then the eye patches, then the hydration cocktail, like it all came together. And I started doing that probably 2018 and sharing it. And it became, that's JJ's morning routine, especially with the community of Peloton.
I love that there's a lot of things that you do that I also do in the morning as well. Like the water, I've actually replaced, because I was water, lemon, and pink salt.
Okay.
And I just started using Element, and I just started pouring that electrolyte powder into it, and I just kind of love the flavor of it. But I do think that there's probably some distinction in the fresh lemon juice and salts. But I also love like getting a stretch in the morning, even it takes 2 to 3 minutes.
Yes.
Like for me, it is down dog, up dog, cat cows. And I do that for, 3 to 5 minutes, something like that. And it's just getting the body going. Like, I love it. I feel like it's such a great way to start the day.
Maybe you got to try the wake up bounce. Just add that in. You just choose a song, favorite song.
I could just put on my headphones.
Yeah. Pick one song, bounce throughout it, 3 to 5 minutes, however long you can endure, and just have fun while you're doing it.
I think dancing, there's a lot.
It's not, hold on, by the way, it's not dancing, it's bouncing, wake up bounce. You can Google it. It's like been written about.
So it's a bounce. So you're literally just
bouncing through the balls of your feet. I call it chaotic dancing because there's no dance. You don't need to be any dance experience necessary for this. It is just a way to help your lymphatic system move in the right direction. It also helps improve your mood immediately. If you're listening to one of your favorite songs or a song that makes you want to move, you're going to feel, I'm a big believer in music. It has the power to change your mood. You're not feeling so great? Put on the right song. It 9 out of 10 times will improve the way you are feeling about yourself or about the things going on around you.
A funny story about that. So I was in the restaurant business forever. I
used to go to the meatball shop right when I got to New York. It was like, meatball shop, yes.
So before meatball shop, I worked at this amazing Italian restaurant. And this is kind of where I cut my teeth in the world of restaurants. And I worked there for 8 years in the East Village. And the bartender that trained me, he taught me so much about just like humans in general. And he was such a drunk, but he's just this British guy and super charming, and just I learned a lot from him. I was 20 and he was like 35. And I remember one day we were both bartending together. I was on service, he was on the main bar, and this old group, 2 couples came in. And this restaurant that we worked at was a delicious Italian restaurant called Frank, but it was tiny, and we would play like heavy metal and hip hop in there, blasting in like the early 2000s. I mean, it was just like, it was a spot. And he said, he's like, I got to show you something. And so I was like, what? And he was like, just keep your eyes on the faces of those people. They were probably in their 70s or 80s or something. He was like, just keep your eyes on the faces. He had the music. He had like whatever. It was like hip hop or something like that playing, and he put on Frank Sinatra. Boom, like just like that, and they lit up. Mm-hmm. They lit up like firecrackers because they walked into this energy that was unfamiliar to them. They weren't really excited about it. And just by the sound of a familiar song, their whole entire attitude changed. Everything changed. And Dominic and I were just kind of like, let's make it a night for them. Until they go, we're going to make sure that they have a great time in here. And it was all music-based.
Music-based. That was the same experience I had at Peloton. A third ride that I taught. So first ride, you launch into this new community. Quickly understood who the community was, and that's almost, 2016. That's not 10 years, but it was a 40 to 50-year-old demographic who owned the bike at that point. And I was like, okay, they're going to like 80s music. So Friday at 8, it's 80s. As much as people said, don't do that every week, I said, no, I'm going to do it every week. And watch it become the #1 ride on a weekly basis, 45-minute 80s ride. So building the brand because I understood the people who are on the other end, what they would have wanted to hear.
So interesting. I know a bunch of Peloton trainers, and one guy in particular who I used to train with years ago. And watching him turn into this different human being as a Peloton trainer now for a long time, and how he really has built this brand that really does lend itself to the 40 to 50-year-old. Most likely female, like the way he communicates and the music that he plays is like the brand of Peloton, really, and also some of the other online coaching and training companies. They've built these brands with human beings.
Yes,
it's wild.
But you also have to stay authentic to yourself, right? So you have to do things you thoroughly enjoy because people will see right through that if you're inauthentic about it. So I absolutely do love 80s music. I was raised right. Like my father was a dairyman. My mother was this like city slicker. She rode horses too, but she loved 80s. Like I was hearing Michael Jackson, Gap Band, you name it. And then I was listening to country from the Judds to Travis Tritt. So my music collection in my mind of what I grew up on is so 360 in terms of everything from jazz to country to hip hop.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Northern California, a small town, again, on a dairy farm. So yeah,
that's cool.
Climbing hay bales for fun.
What about a few habits that you do on a daily basis that don't necessarily have to do with your morning routine or a wind down routine, but things that you do to kind of keep you focused and organized?
So there was a point where, as fierce as a instructor that I was noticing that I was very weak in areas, specifically in my body, my strength. I was weak in places that my job wasn't helping me with. So once I left Peloton, I started to focus more on myself. And even for anyone who has a job, right, it's all comes down to time, right? Do I have time to focus on myself? Maybe I have 45 minutes to an hour here, but can I be consistent with it? And does it become purposeful, right? So rather than like in New York City, you can go anywhere for a workout. But in the end of the day, it's a workout. You could stay in your home and do 45 minutes of jumping jacks and have the same effect, depending on if you are training with a purpose or not. So once I started training with a purpose and understanding it's not about being sore, it's about getting to the goal, taking small steps to get closer to the goal rather than one huge push, that I was able to create habits that are sustainable. So training less, gaining more, which that can mean a plethora of things. Gaining more strength, endurance, gaining more towards your goals if it's weight loss, fat loss. That is a principle of the JMethod. So is train less, gain more. So finding ways to do that, it all comes down to training with purpose. So having the habit to focus on myself, whether it just be 20 minutes a day, and it not going, like people think less, oh, I got to go all out. It's got to be high intensity interval training. It's got to be the hardest thing you've ever done. No, it just has to be consistent, right? So if you have a proper routine throughout the week where you're doing enough strength, cardio to supplement it, mobility, a simple walk, then you are going to probably be at your very best because you've optimized the way a human is supposed to move. I say it often, train your glutes as much as you sit on them. So I focus on the glutes. Those are habits physically that I've instilled. One habit that I've recently broken, which was I felt very negative habit, was not only reaching for my phone, but going on my phone first thing in the morning. So the first thing I'm doing is going on social media, which can either make you feel real good or real sad real quick. But it also takes you away from all the other tasks in the day. And it, in fact, took so much of my time, I wouldn't get to my morning routine. I didn't have time for it. So being purposeful in not touching it, finding ways, because you can't just say, oh yeah, I'm just going to get rid of that bad habit of mine. You have to replace it with something good. So that's where the song came, right? So the song, the music. So it'll be, for instance, I have 3 songs that I kind of just go through. And I have a bajillion alarms set, okay, because I need those. And I'll re-edit that one. Okay, I need 6:45. Oh, today I need 8, whatever. I just make sure I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. That song will be Faith by George Michael. It'll be Kyrie, or it'll be Lovely Day. And they all start out real cute, and then they get a little fiery. And that helps me, that habit of having music around me has done so much for my well-being, but more importantly, my confidence. Because it might appear like I've been the most confident person you've ever seen, but there was a time in my life that I had absolutely zero confidence in myself. And that was back when I was living in France, so before I came to New York. No confidence. I said, oh, I have this aspiration to do something. You have someone around you who says, yeah, right, that's never going to happen. You start to believe those things. But it took just one person to believe in me, where I finally started to believe in myself. And so that is part of my why, is maybe I can be that to someone else on the other side of the screen.
I think it's interesting that you talk about not having confidence or having a lack of confidence. And
just
then,
overwhelming self-doubt.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then breaking through and not being like, ultimately like, I've got it all, but walking with confidence. What do you think it was? Or was it a build-up over time?
I think most importantly, it's support, even if it's just from one person or one thing. And it could be, if you don't have anyone, maybe it's just faith in something else above you that makes you feel like you're supported in some way. But then I would also come back to the routines, because those make you feel capable. Like, you've already accomplished this in such a short time. What else can you get done in the day? And I try to use each day, like, I'm trying to pursue better on a daily basis. Not that I'm not satisfied. I don't want to come off to be like I'm just never satisfied. I always want more, but I do want to strive to be better. I never want to be in a place where I'm complacent and I say, you know what? I'm so confident. I'm so good. No, I'm always learning, because once you get to that place, for me, you either grow or you die. So growth always.
I have so much identification with that, when it comes to, like, I believe that is why I also have structure and routines in my life every day, right? And they're like, this morning, I wasn't staying at home. I didn't have my red light panel and my sauna and my cold plunge and my inversion table and like all the tricks and tips and toys. I didn't have all that shit. I had my hotel room, and I had my relationship with God, and I had my down dog, up dog, cat, cow. I had my push-ups, and and I went down to do some movement in the gym. I think what's so great that you've created this job one system, which is 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week.
Like a job.
And that is like, and I think for me, the greatest part about that is you put an emphasis on priority being one.
Number one.
One. And
above all else, as a mother specifically, I think a lot of times you're set up to put yourself last. And you have to take care of so many other things. Or even if you're a caretaking to someone else, whether it be a dog, a family member, you are putting yourself last on the list when really you should be first, because you are a better service to others when you are at your best. It's the same thing they say on the airplane. We hear it, every time you travel, but that is the truth. So if you can make your health and fitness your number one priority, I'm going to guarantee that you will be more happy, but also more successful in your endeavors.
Everything.
Are you going to get it overnight? No, you have to work for things. That's what I believe. Anything that's handed to me, I do not want it. I don't trust it. It won't last. I want to work for what I earn. So going back to what has helped me feel more confident, not just the routines, but it's also when you're able to do something and do it over and over to gain the experience. Because anytime you do something for the first time, you're not confident. You might be acting confident, but you're not. It's learning, redoing, trying again. Some people are like, I don't believe in trying. No, I'm like, you're doing your best if you try your best. All I need you to do is try. So if it's get on a bike and pedal in a circle, if it's press play on this and just try with your body weight, just try. I think that's really helped with my confidence. And then, my goal is then now to help other people. And specifically, I just launched a collection called Her with Heroine Sport. Yeah, it's really badass.
Looks cool.
It stands for, Her stands for heroic, empowered, and radiant, which is something I feel about myself every single day. Maybe not. But I want all women to put this on and feel that way about themselves, because sometimes it comes down to the clothes you wear. It can make you feel a whole different way about yourself. So if I can help influence, for instance, in fashion with women, then I'm doing my job, because that's the goal, is to make people feel better about themselves.
There is no doubt, there's just no doubt that if one is lost, if one is struggling, if one is in pain, if one is dealing with depression, if one is feeling rejection, if you can, and this is my experience, and I know it's your experience, if you can find the strength and the courage to make yourself the priority with fitness and nutrition, maybe some spirituality, it will ripple effect in every area of your life. And people have asked me over the years, what are the keys to your success? And I always respond with, what time did you go to bed last night?
Oh.
That's the truth.
Well, don't ask me that.
Don't ask me that either. I was out late last night. But that is the question I respond. And if the answer is 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, all right, well, how often are you going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning? Every night. I'm like, well, I would say don't worry about anything else. Start going to bed at 10. Because if you go to bed at 10, it's going to give you an opportunity to wake up a little bit earlier. And the beauty about waking up early for me is not just to say, oh, I'm the 5 a.m. guy. It's to say, hey, I just fucking figured out a way to earn time in my life. Like, you cannot buy it. You can't spend any amount of money on it. You just can't. It's the one thing that you can't buy. You can buy almost anything else with cash, but time, can't buy. So if you can earn it by sacrificing an hour or two in the morning, man, you just, like, if you woke up consistently at 7 and you started waking up at 6, you just earned 365 days a year, 365 hours a year, which is 15 straight days to your life.
I mean, that sounds amazing, but I'm not going to wake up an hour earlier, because, for one, my life is not the same every single day. I do travel a lot, the demands of work and family. So I'm always in a different time. Like just 2 days ago, I was in San Francisco, so on the other coast. So I just know how important sleep is, though. Like I wish around the water cooler, instead of they asking, how are you? Which everyone says, fine, or they never share an emotion, right? No one shares that. You should start asking people, how did you sleep last night? Or how's your sleep in general? Because that's more telling of someone's mood, is how did you sleep?
So true.
I didn't sleep at all. I got like 4. It's like, oh, well, we already know what mood you're going to be in today or how productive you will be.
Right. Yeah. Sleep is so, it is. I share the early morning stuff for me because
it's super motivating.
Well, it's not even that it's motivating. It is.
Well, because you're providing structure for others to, okay, well, if I do wake up early, a lot of people don't want to wake up and journal. I do not want to wake up and meditate and journal. As much as that sounds great for the person telling me that's their routine or part of it, I'm just like, you know what? That's not, I'd love to make a list of the things I need to get done that day or that I'd like to prioritize, but I don't want to meditate. I do not want it. I want to move. Like I want to wake up, bounce. Yeah.
and I think that's the beauty of like you so let's just say Andrew Huberman, right? Like we hear a podcast that literally walks through like all the things that are great for your body to do on a daily basis, right? And there's a lot of them, right? There's meditation, there's journal, there's movement, there's sauna, there's cold exposure, there's journaling, there's reading.
Workout first thing in the morning.
I mean, there's all these things that we can do, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I have the conclusion that I've come to is that this time component to happiness ratio is way out of whack, right? So like you said, time with job one, right?
Yes.
It's a 20-minute thing. If you cannot fucking commit 20 minutes, something else is wrong in your life, right?
Yeah, give me the excuse, because I'll solve it for you.
Right. Like it's impossible.
You just spent 20 minutes on your phone.
Right, exactly. Sitting on
Scrolling.
Totally.
Yeah.
So the solution to that, in my experience, is and specifically with parents, right? Like most parents are like, no time, can't do it. I got to be at work at 9. I got the kids in the morning, and so what I have just figured out for me is I get an hour to an hour and a half alone, uninterrupted. I've got kids. I'm married. I got businesses. I get that time, and I can fucking do what I want.
Are you working out in that time too?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not.
That's a separate thing.
I used to.
Okay.
I used to work out in the morning first thing, and I found, and I used to be ashamed of saying this, but I'm not anymore. I'm the fucking CEO of my own company.
Yeah.
I'm the boss. I make the schedule. And I used to feel bad about working out in the middle of the day. I used to like if I wasn't sitting at the desk or if I wasn't in the restaurants and I'd be in the gym, I'd be like, man, I should really be. And then I'm like, and I had a realization when we moved out of the city, and I said, why am I feeling bad about this? I have worked since I'm 10 years old. I've worked almost 30 years in restaurants, opening, closing, 14 hours, 20 hours. 18 months straight. Like I've done all this shit, and I still beat myself up for wanting to work out at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. So I don't do it anymore first thing in the morning. But I do. I am very selfish first thing in the morning. I am only focused on myself. It is my number one priority, and I love that you said that.
But you're not taking away from anyone else.
I'm not taking away from anyone else because I wake up in the morning, and that has been. I really like if I wasn't married and I didn't have kids, chances are I'd probably start this at 7 o'clock in the morning and sleep from 10 or 11 to 7. But the fact is that I have kids and I am married and I love being in the breakfast, like having breakfast with my wife and kids in the morning. It's like my favorite thing to do, especially at like 6:30 when they're just getting up and I had just done 17 unbelievably accomplishing things. Like walk out of that room, walk into my kitchen, and I am like impenetrable. Like if I did nothing else.
But you're in the best mind frame as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you made yourself the priority.
That's it.
Now, as motivating as that is and inspiring, not everyone can achieve that, nor do they have the desire to.
Totally.
Wake up and gain more time. So I'm trying to create ways, job one being one of them, hope to create more, that I am going to eliminate that time barrier for you, because that is the number one excuse why people are not consistent, why people aren't even trying. So when it comes to like helping people with even self-doubt, I try to not only create a fitness program that is effective and efficient in delivering results, but I also try to add a mindset component to it. So you feel the connection to my words, and those are the words that maybe if you don't have a spouse, you don't have a partner, you are alone, I can be that person for you on that other side of the screen.
Powerful. That's strong.
Yeah.
That's strong.
That's the goal.
The 20-minute workout.
Yes.
I think this is also really important to touch upon, because, and then we're going to get into your wind down routine, because
Okay.
I'm sure you have one of those, or maybe you don't. But
I do.
Okay, awesome. I come from hardcore training, 4 years, always going as hard as I possibly can. I'm now 42.
Right.
Going to be 43 soon. I don't believe that my body is not what it used to be. But I'm here to tell you, sitting in this chair right now, it fucking is. Like, it is not what it used to be.
And you're pushing it to its limits at points.
I'm pushing it. And so it's so refreshing to me to hear from like a true fitness professional who's been doing this for a long time, that you've developed a 20-minute program that you believe will garner great results. And I need to start thinking more like that.
Well, it has the optimal combination of strength and cardio. So 3 days are dedicated to strength. Each different day has a different approach. So start strong is how we start the week. We finish stronger at the end of the week. One's focused on lifting heavier with more control. The second day is build and burn, more muscle time under tension. And then the last day is more endurance based with a little bit of intensity. In between those 2 days, you have one HIT session, which I call Hit It. It's 20 minutes in and out. It's 3 simple moves, but boy, how I program them. They're the most effective 20 minutes you will ever stumble upon. And then a sweat session, which is more focused on improving the endurance, again, without any equipment for the cardio sessions. But then the program also comes with optional bike rides to sub in and out, since I'm pretty well known for cycling. That was a program, again, with the constraint of time. How can I solve for it and it still be something that gets people results? How can they still improve their strength, endurance? How can they build lean muscle? If they want to lose weight, obviously that comes down to nutrition. But I've had experience in body comp. I used to be a figure competitor back in the day, so I knew what that took, the dedication not only to training, but also, I was doing double sessions. I had 2 coaches, one for my lower body, one for my upper body. And the obvious dedication to nutrition. I learned a lot through that. I learned a lot through cycling at Peloton. I have worked with, you name it, the type of client, from celebrity to somebody, your next door neighbor, all age ranges. And the most important thing that I have learned is how to help people move without pain. How to push them, but not push them too far that they do injure themselves. So keeping people safe so they can be consistent.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately definitely caught in a spot right now where I am not able to do what I love to do.
And yes, it's easy to get the work done first thing in the morning, especially if you have a 9-to-5 job and you come home and you're too tired to do it. But me personally, I do not work out in the morning. I do not thrive. Do I shoot and create these products? And I have Job One, I have the Job One sequel, I have a program called Bike One as well. Those were all shot in the morning. I dreaded that. I was like, the morning. I thrive about 11 hours after I wake up. Like, I am like all the ideas are flowing. Let's create content. Let's work out. It's also helped me to wind down a little bit easier. Is when I have the workout later in the day, late afternoon, early evening, I know there's nothing else for me to do. I am absolutely going to push myself, whether it be 20 minutes or sometimes 10, just depending on what the goal is that day and what I'm training towards. That helps me sleep better.
So that training in the evening.
Training in the evening. I also have incorporated an evening stroll ever since I moved to Miami, Florida, which I've spent 0 time there. But when I am there and anywhere, I try to, in the evening, at least 20 minutes. And sometimes those 20 turn into an hour, and I'm just strolling around, doing a little walk. That's part of the wind down. When we get a little closer, I try to get some sort of heat. So I call it bath time. but like sometimes I'm in a jacuzzi. Jacuzzi, bath, you name it, I need some hot water. So if the hotel doesn't have a bath, I'm going in the hot shower. That also helps. And then a hot drink. So I love a drink that has some magnesium. I've been drinking one that has, it's called magnesium L-threonate. I put it in the hot water. Tastes great, but I hear you have something I might be interested in. So
Got to get you some of that nightcap.
I mean, I love chocolate. So those 3 things, I believe, some sort of movement, and whether it's, again, an evening stroll, if I don't feel safe wherever I'm at to do that, if there's a bike, 20-minute bike ride before I go to bed. I mean, there's been studies. I mean, there's always studies on everything, but there are studies that it has shown to improve your sleep, 20 minutes of cycling before bed.
20 minutes of cycling.
Yeah, I can't cite the reference right off the bat, but I have read that article.
Walking in the evening is something that I don't do enough of, but when I do it, I love it. I love it.
Well, I just partnered with this company called Amorpho, so they're the weighted vest company.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Such a cool brand.
Oh,
Such a cool brand.
The whole team's from Nike, by the way. And I will put on a hoodie. So I kind of want to get a little sweat on, especially if it's 80-something in Miami. I'll put the vest on top. So it's like my don't mess with me vest. Like someone's probably thinking, well, I'm not messing with that girl. She's got that vest on. And I just walk. And I get back. I'm sweaty because obviously it's trapped in all the heat from the sweater and the vest. I feel more efficient because, wow, I just added all that weight, it's like burning 8% more calories. Mm-hmm. All about trying to hack that. And I feel great.
So you recently moved to Miami.
Recently, yep.
From New York?
A year ago, yes.
Do you love it down there?
I do. You know, New York's changed a lot since 2015. So it was time. It was time to make the change. I'm fortunate enough to work from anywhere, and I'm also very fortunate to travel as often as I do. So Miami was the place. It's just where I dump my bags.
Yeah. I love going down to Miami. I feel like Miami has this there's an energy down there, and so many people I grew up in Manhattan. I grew up in New York City. So pretty much everybody I know now lives in Florida.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of like everything is kind of just moved down that way. And it makes sense because who really wants to live in cold weather anymore? Like, who really wants to?
But I would say every opportunity I do have to come to New York, I'm like, wow, this city makes you want to hustle.
There's no, last night I went out, and I live in upstate New York in the middle of the woods, Last night I went out with 2 high school friends.
Okay.
And we went down to this neighborhood called Dime Square, down on Ludlow and Canal.
Okay.
Just a new, vibrant, totally.
I would never walk over there, but yeah.
It is, I couldn't believe it. Literally,
it's the hot spot now.
it is just literally, it felt like Europe. It felt like walking through these open plazas in Europe. I'm talking about hundreds of tables out on the street. Sidewalks, streets closed.
Wow.
Ludlow and Canal.
Okay.
We went to, there was a restaurant called Kiki's that we went to, but there were just all these open restaurants, people flooding out into the street. It literally felt like a plaza in
Rome.
In Rome, literally. And it was a perfect night. It was amazing. The energy from that, I'm fueled up for the next month.
New York is a special place, right? The energy, but also the food. There's never been better food in one city than New York City. So maybe one day I'll be back. But for now,
Miami.
Miami for now.
I like Miami. I like it there. My mother and my sister both moved to Del Rey, so I'll be down there a bunch. It's good. Jennifer, this was an awesome conversation.
This was.
I really appreciate you coming and taking the time and hanging out with me and sharing about Job One, because I really think that just the philosophy of Job One, this idea that you are the number one priority, and if you can commit to one thing, it's got to be yourself.
It has to.
And
then
you've made it easy.
It just turns into so much more.
You rock. Where can
rock
everybody
too.
find you?
You can find me on all social channels, JMethod. You can also find me on my website, thejmethod.com. And I would say you can find me through Job One, which is exclusively on Body.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning into another awesome episode of the Creatures of Habit podcast with Jennifer Jacobs. This is just I every time I do one of these episodes, especially with someone who's so deeply passionate about movement, movement is medicine. It just is. I don't know. Movement saved my life. If you guys have been watching this podcast or listening to this podcast or following my content over the years, aside from the entrepreneurial stuff, you know that movement saved my life. It saved my life. It is what I owe my happiness and success to today is this commitment to movement. And when I hear Jennifer's created a system that makes it easy for you, or not easy for you, but makes the commitment, the time commitment to movement far more palatable, where there are really no excuses, it's something that I think you should listen to. It would really mean the world to me if you shared this podcast with a friend, a family member, anyone who you think would find this valuable. And this is definitely going to be a valuable podcast. I would also love a 5-star rating and a review. That would be great. That would be fantastic if you could do that for me. I'd love you very much. And there's going to be many, many more podcasts where this is shot here in the big old apple of New York City. I appreciate you guys listening. I love you. I appreciate you. Until the next one, y'all. Peace.